Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we'll discuss about Obsidian. So basically I've been using RoamResearch for quite a few time now, but for the past 2 weeks I decided to give Obsidian a try. And actually by the end of this 2 weeks period I decided to completely switch. So in this video I'll tell you about how it was to use Obsidian, what I liked about it, what I missed from RoamResearch, and ultimately why I decided to completely switch to Obsidian. So let's get started. Alright, so first thing, why was I interested in Obsidian in the first place? Actually, I was very happy with RoamResearch, but there was only one problem with it. I could not use it to take notes at work. The problem with RoamResearch is that I had no options to have my notes stored locally on my machine. And to take notes at work, I had to have my notes sitting on my machine. I could not afford to send them to some external service. So this was the first thing. Now I could have used RoamResearch for my personal usage and use another application at work, but I'm not a big fan of that because in the end you have to learn different shortcuts, you have to learn different workflows. So ultimately I wanted to use only one application, the same, both for my personal usage and at work. The other reason I was interested in Obsidian was the price. Actually, RoamResearch is subscription-based and it's $15 per month, so it's not cheap. Now, I was okay to pay it as long as I was using it, and I still think that it's a very nice piece of software. But on the other hand, when you have an alternative that gives the same capabilities in terms of functionalities, I mean, you have to try it out. And if it fits the bill, then you will just go for it and save those $15. Alright, so now let's discuss about what I liked about Obsidian. Well, the first thing is that there are native applications, which means that you can download the application on your machine and start using it. And also the application is available on many operating systems. For instance, I have a Windows laptop, I have an iPad, which is an iOS device, I have an Android phone, and I have a Mac mini. So 4 different operating systems. And it happens that Obsidian is available on these 4 operating systems. And on top of being available on multiple operating systems, the application is super fast. So I never experienced any slowness, neither on Android nor on macOS. It has always been super fast. The other thing that I liked about Obsidian is that you do not rely on the network to be able to work with your notes. So basically, all your notes are stored on your hard drive, plus you have downloaded an application that sits on your hard drive. So as soon as you start your computer, even if you don't have any internet connection, you can work with your notes. Which is not the case with RoamResearch, for instance, where the application is a web-based application and your notes are stored on RoamResearch servers. Which means that if you don't have an internet connection available, then you cannot work on your notes. Alright, so the third thing that I liked a lot about Obsidian is how easy it is to modify the appearance. So basically, to modify the appearance of the software, you rely on themes. And there are a lot of themes available, and you can install them super easily. Let me show you. Alright, so here we are in Obsidian. So if I go ahead and click this setting button, so in the appearance menu here, there is this theme menu, where you can have the community themes, and then you can browse the available themes. And then as you can see in here, there are multiple themes available. And then you can simply preview the theme by clicking this button, or decide to use it completely and it will download the theme and then apply it to your Obsidian installation. So this is very simple, very nice. This has to be compared with the way it's done in RoamResearch, which is much more convoluted, where you have to go on the internet, find out the theme, copy the CSS block associated to this theme, and then paste it in a specific page in RoamResearch and play with the filters to enable or disable one or the other of the themes that you have installed. Alright, so the next thing that I liked a lot about Obsidian is the graph. Let me show you. Alright, so as you can tell in here, it shows all my notes and the links between my notes. So this graph is very nice because it gives you a high level overview of how well your notes are linked one to another. And you can tell also if there are notes that are completely outside of your graph and are not linked to any other notes. For instance, I have this one in here, Better RoamResearch. It's a node that is not linked to any other one. And also I can see in here that I have a couple of notes that starts to create an aggregate. So for instance, I may want at some point to check out the content of this note and see if I cannot link them to the main graph, so that if I navigate, I may end up on one of those notes using the links. Now you can see also here that I have this central node, which is my daily log, that is the one having most of the links to the other nodes. So there is also a graph implementation in RoamResearch, but the thing is that the way it's done, I didn't find it very useful, or even I haven't used it a lot. I tried to use it, but in the end I ended up not using it at all, so I just took a look at it 1 or 2 times and that's it. Whereas in the case of Obsidian, I used it already several times, for instance while importing my notes, just to make sure that all the links were there and I was not missing a note, or some notes were just completely outside of the graph. So very, very nice implementation. Alright, so now onto the features that I miss from RoamResearch. I think the feature that I miss the most is the daily note. Now the daily note is just a note that is created automatically, and every day there is a new entry for this specific date, where you can just dump your thoughts or just create new notes or create new entries, whatever you want. So this is created automatically. And then you can just scroll through this note and it displays day after day all your notes for all the specific days. Now in Obsidian, first there is no daily note that is created automatically for you, so you have to create a new one. And also you don't have this kind of timeline where you can just scroll the note and just see day by day what you were doing or what were your thoughts for this specific day. Now there is a plugin that you can use, which is the daily note plugin, but this one creates a distinct note, one for each day, which means that you cannot scroll through all your timeline easily. You have to go ahead and open the notes associated to each day. Now I use a kind of a workaround for this, which is that I created a daily log note. So let me show. Alright, so here we are on my daily log. So it's a note that I created myself. And then every day I go ahead and just add a new entry using a template, for instance. So I insert a template and then I select daily log template. And then it creates a new entry starting with the date of the day and just a couple of subsections that I define myself. So it's kind of the same result as RoamResearch, except that I'll end up with a node that is huge, so I don't know in terms of performances if it will keep working as smooth as it is today. And also I cannot reference directly from here, just saying for instance I want to put a note for myself for the 18th of September. I cannot say okay, I go ahead and add a link to this specific note, 18th of September, because in Obsidian this note doesn't effectively exist. These are just entries that I'm adding in the daily log. It's not that big of a deal, but I prefer the way it's done in RoamResearch. Now the second big thing that I miss from RoamResearch is the WYSIWYG editor. Now in RoamResearch, basically when you are editing a note, there is no two different worlds. Basically you edit the note, and when you want to see the note or when you want to edit the note, it's the same note that is displayed and you can edit it right away. Whereas in the case of Obsidian, you have to switch between a visualization mode and an edit mode. So let me show. Alright, so here for instance we are on one of my notes, how to record a YouTube video. And then in this case I can edit the note. See here I'm adding just additional characters. But you see that the note formatting, there are those hashtags and there are also those double hashtags, so it's not properly formatted. And then you have these double stars and so on and so forth. Because here I'm in edit mode, so all the markdown syntax is displayed as is, it's not interpreted. Now if I switch to the visualization mode, you see that it looks way better already. But in that case I cannot edit the note. I have to switch back to the edit mode, which means that you always have to go back and forth between the edit and the visualization mode. At first it was kind of a deal breaker for me. I thought, okay, I don't want to play this game of switching back and forth between the edit and the visualization mode. It's not for me. Well, after having played with Obsidian for 2 weeks, I can say that I spend most of my time in the edit mode and just switch to visualization mode from time to time. It's not that big of a problem as I thought it would be the first time I saw it. Alright, so now let's move on a thing I call the little big details. These are small things, but are quite annoying actually. And the first one has to do with the search function. Let me show. Alright, so I'm back on my notes, and let's say here I want to search for the word record that you can see here is as a title. I go search, I type in record, and then you see here it highlights the different occurrences of this specific word. And then if I want to move to this specific occurrence, because I want to modify it, well, there is no way to do it. If I hit left, right arrow, nothing happens. If I hit escape, the cursor is back to its original position. So the only option I have to go to the record line is to search for record, alright? Then I search, and once I find it, I pick my mouse and click it there. So this really, it's super annoying. I don't understand why it has been done that way. I haven't seen any text editor working like this, so I hope this will be fixed soon. Alright, so the next small annoyance is the zoom option. Now, if you recall in RoamResearch, when you are editing a specific block or editing a specific chapter, you can zoom in this specific part of the text so that you are completely focused on this specific block. So you can do this with Obsidian as well, but it's a little bit less convenient. Let me show. Alright, so here I'm back on the same note, and let's say that I want to work on this record session. So I zoom in, and as you can tell, it works exactly the same as RoamResearch, so I only see this part. Now we can even zoom further on the short air roll. Now let's say that I want to go back one level, and this is where it's annoying because you cannot go back one level. When you go back, it goes back to the whole note, so for instance like this. Whereas in that case, I wish I could have done record, short air roll, and then go back just to record. Now, as a workaround, what I can do is that zoom on record, zoom on air roll, and then here I have the path, so I can click on record. But it involves using the mouse, so it's not that effective. Now, this is not a big problem because this is a third-party plugin that gives this capability, this zooming capability. And actually, I took a look at the code and it shouldn't be that complex to do. So maybe I will take some time just to submit a proposal to fix this part. Alright, so the next thing I find a little bit annoying is the plugin system. Now, the plugin system is a nice idea, meaning that you can augment the capabilities of Obsidian. But the thing is that there are some plugins that I consider not being optional, like this zoom function that I just showed. I wish it would have been part of Obsidian out of the box. And there are other options. For instance, when you want to use the templates, again, you have to activate some options in the plugins. For this zoom, you have to select the plugin and add it. You see, so there is some configuration involved just to have a proper working Obsidian. Now, it's not that big of a deal. It's quite easy to do actually, but if you have multiple installations and you don't have any way to sync those installations, then you have to keep in mind what are the plugins that you are using to make sure to reinstall them on your other devices, for instance. Alright, so the last thing that I find kind of annoying is the notes synchronization. Now basically you can use Obsidian with a single machine, so you have all your notes on your hard drive and you have Obsidian installed and everything works fine. But as soon as you want to use it on different devices, for instance if you want to use it on your phone and on your computer, then you have to sync your notes on the cloud using a specific service. Now there are multiple options to do this. You can use Google Drive, you can use iCloud, or you can use Obsidian own syncing service. Now, Obsidian own syncing service is a paid service with a subscription fee of $5 per month. So, well, you have to take this into account if you want to use it. And the thing is that I tried most of these solutions. Actually, I ended up using Obsidian Sync, simply because all the other options, so I tried with Google Drive, I tried with Dropbox and with iCloud, and all of them had limitations. So Google Drive, I kept running into syncing issues. Dropbox, I had issues with the file names. iCloud, it only worked with iOS devices. So all in all, I had to use Obsidian Sync. Now I'm totally happy with this service, it works pretty well, so I had no issue with it whatsoever, but it's just something that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so now a few words about the actual migration. So how was the migration from RoamResearch to Obsidian? Well, actually it was pretty simple. So basically in RoamResearch you can download all your notes as an archive, so there is an option for it on RoamResearch interface. So you just have to go ahead, click this button, and then you have an archive that contains all your notes. And from there you just open Obsidian, import those notes, and from there you just have one more step in Obsidian where you just have to click and adapt notes coming from RoamResearch, because the formatting used by RoamResearch is not exactly the same as the one used by Obsidian. So once you did this, everything works perfectly. So it was super easy. So overall, how do I feel about Obsidian? Well, actually I was so happy with the software that I decided to completely switch from RoamResearch to Obsidian for my note-taking. You have to do some initial setup just to get it up and running the way you want it, but once it's done, then it's just super convenient to use, and it's also way cheaper than RoamResearch. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the switch. Alright, so this is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you have any question, just let me know in the comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!